Hi, everybody. I asked the sheriff to be here this afternoon in case. No, I'm just playing.
Sorry, the budget doesn't allow for you to be here.
Will you
It's not
please
overtime, is
shut
it?
that door for us? It wasn't in the budget. Okay. The Erie County Board of Elections is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bale,
Here.
Mr. Copeland,
Here.
Mr. Drexel,
Here.
Mrs. Showerman. Here. Mr. Scatella,
Here.
Mr. Winarski,
Here.
Chairman Horton.
Here. We go right to hearing the public. Any citizen to be heard, let's have.
Yeah, well, today I have on my Judy Human t-shirt. Judy was phenomenal disability advocate and the mother of the ADA. So I just wanted to mention that in the prior list of disability, of curing policies that were not passed before, there was a specific policy about if somebody had a disability, identified themselves as having a disability, they could, they have a new ballot mailed to them or their current ballot mailed to them. So they could correct it in the curing policy. It's getting really late to do that. But, I just wanted, I did read from the agenda packet online. I didn't see anything addressing that kind of a situation. So I had that question. And I was at Jesse Jackson event yesterday when he encouraged all of the people who stood up, who hadn't voted, to come and vote today. And so I told everybody I could to print out the form and fill it out ahead of time. But I see you guys do have a process. You have all those clipboards and the forms, so. And I was really impressed that when I went to the restroom between the meetings, that the line had cleared. Cause it was a big line, so you guys have done a lot of work. I also just wanted to be sure that it is clear that a person, unless they have a designated agent form, that they can only turn in their own ballot. Although, somebody indicated to me it might have been, if I saw somebody with two ballots, they might have been returning a duplicate ballot. But my understanding is that you're only allowed to deposit your own ballot unless you have a designated agent. Thank you.
Your assumption is correct. I mean, yeah, it's correct. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Valerie Keenstaub, and I've been making about 250 phone calls a day in Erie County. I'm from Crawford County, so if you want to throw me out before I talk, let me know. But I promised voters I would come and speak for them and just report what I've been hearing. And I think everybody knows, like, the duplicate ballot or the wrong ballot being mailed out. And then lots of people not getting their ballots yet. And then also some of the problems I found yesterday was people getting their ballot and having the wrong return envelope inside of it. So I don't know how big of a issue that is. And then the disabilities, like just making sure that everybody's aware that the ADA Act now allows anybody to bring in their ballots for them, as long as they've signed the forms. So you may see somebody with 10 ballots, as long as they have those forms from the disabled people. So, and then lastly, are all the ballots mailed? Like there's none that's not mailed yet, is that the case? Or?
I can answer some of that.
We'll
in our
speak to
reports
that
later.
in our report.
Okay, all right, and then the last thing is the Supreme Court ruling today. Are you gonna have a curing process, and what will that be? So that was kind of, I think, everything I promised I would ask.
Great. Are there any citizens? Mr. Talrico?
Dan Tellerico, Harvard Road, Erie County Democratic Party Chair, and I await Karen's report. My only concern is about people that have not received their mail-in ballots yet. I'm one of them. And that's not an issue. People are calling the office though, and some things you don't think of because I can just come down to the courthouse anytime. But we have students like that are out of state And they say, I'll drive back to Erie if I have to on election day to go to my polling place. And the one thing that you can't fix is the time element. I mean, we're running against, time, we're down to 12 days. And this is something you can't fix. Our major concern is with the post office system. I mean, before they did their efficiency fixes, I mean, if you put a piece of mail in the ballot on Monday, it got there on Wednesday. We're telling people right now, don't mail them in, go to the drop box, if you need a ride to the drop box, we'll take you. But that doesn't solve the problem for the out of state people. I've even told some of them, I said, I know it'll cost money, but if you have to, when you get that ballot, go express mail. I know that's fairly expensive. They shouldn't have to do that. I just want to make you aware of some of the things we're hearing in the office. And the last thing is, again, the election office, you're just doing a great job. I know the duplicate ballots was a snafu. These are human systems. We always have problems, but you have the systems in place to fix these things. And so that's not really a big deal. I know that fuels conspiracy theories, but there's nothing you can do about that. We're human beings, systems fail. As long as you can catch those mistakes, and you always do, there's really not a problem. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Rennie, Erie, City of Erie, as the former Board of Elections Chair, yeah. The election integrity dollars we invested for this election cycle, including the ballot sorter, extractors, electronic poll pads, et cetera, they were invested to maintain the integrity of all elections. Maybe the timing wasn't the best as far as what happened in communicating the ballot issue immediately, but I have full faith in the integrity of the election process here in Erie County. When I stepped down as the Board of Elections Chair, 3 times Board of Elections Chair, the proper protocols were in place. I have faith that these protocols have been maintained. There's a statement flying around on social media about volunteers. We never allowed volunteers to work the election in any capacity, and all the election workers were trained and paid for their time. I believe it's still that way, so I did want to clear up that misconception. There's an awful lot flying around on social media, and sadly, by some people who really should know better about election IQ. We chose election IQ for their track record of integrity and experience. There's a lot of misinformation that's being spread right now. And some of the people in this room are certainly aware that we were put into an unfortunate position where this county could have been sued for improper purchasing procedures that gave inappropriate knowledge to one of the local competitors, which was wrong. It was against the law, I believe. And I just think that people need to be aware that we follow the correct processes, and I have faith in this going forward. Nothing's ever perfect, but you want to have the processes in place that you can catch the errors that are usually caused by human error. And I think we have that. Thank you.
Any other citizens desiring to be heard? My man.
I just want to comment on Karen. I had questions about a ballot issue. And she was always available, always called me back. Tom called me back. Even though I don't really like the wording, I think they did a good job just getting back to me. And, as far as I'm concerned, it is what it is. And I appreciate the effort. Really, thank you.
Any citizens online desiring to be heard at this time? Any citizens online desiring to be heard at this time? Seeing none. We'll move right to the election report directly to Ms.
Okay, and I would like to address a lot of the concerns that the public has brought up today. I think maybe, Tanya, if you want to go over numbers, or do you want me to read the numbers first? Okay. So first, just to put the whole election in perspective right now, we have a total registered voter base of 181,719 registered voters. 81,482 are Democratic and 72,393 are Republican. This report was generated around noon today, and we had at that time 39,978 ballots, mail ballot applications issued from our department. We're probably over 40,000 now with mail ballot applications. Of those, 39,567 are marked as sent, and returned, we have 15,142 returned. Of those applications, Democratic Party has 23,954, and the Republican Party has 12,011. We've seen a steady stream of people here with an amazing staff working 12, 14-hour days, Saturdays, Sundays, around the clock. And I can't really say enough. I know Tanya can't either. The dedication of the people and their patience dealing with the public. We just really have an amazing staff. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership over there and everything that you're doing to carry the election on with safety and security of the election and our staff. As far as the heavy issues here, as you're aware, we had a problem with some of the ballots that were sent from Election IQ. What we've been able to determine, and we put this out in the media statement, as now as a total of 38,000 ballots that have been sent out, 296 people received 2 separate mailings. They were both addressed to them. So it looked like on the surface that they received duplicate mailings. Upon opening these envelopes, one was in fact their voting material, the other was somebody else's voting material on the inside. So of that 296 people, those people, I would call them Group A, all received their ballots. Group B, I'm going to call the people whose voting information was contained in that other envelope. The people of Group B also did receive their ballots as well. So we have kind of an overlap, and the best way I can put it is of 296. The reason that this information didn't go out immediately to the public was we learned about this late Friday afternoon. And we immediately contacted Election IQ to get an idea of what the scope of this was. But we didn't know if we're talking about 5 people, 50 people, 20,000 people. We really had no idea. And we didn't want to go out and say, we know that it's affected 150 people, and then in a couple days say that's 250, and people start losing confidence in the entire process from the mail house and the election in general. So we appreciate the patience that people have had and the grace people have given us to let Election IQ do this tedious job of going over every single voting record. They looked at everything that was sent out and compared that to the USP records as well. And they identified the 296. And we have that spreadsheet where we have the names, addresses, and the corresponding ID for all of those voters on both sides, both Group A and Group B. So we have a full base of data there. In the meantime, we stopped production of the sorting runs. So the mail ballots were not being sorted. So people who know in fact that they voted and put their ballot in the drop box here while they were at the office, but didn't get a received by or processed by email in the mail. At that time, it's because we stopped the sorting process for several days until we could get that spreadsheet of information. What we did then with that correspondence ID and voter information, we programmed that into our sorter. So now the sorter is able to identify all of the people, all of those ballots, and they're being segregated. So that our office has a dedicated team to take those out. Not only have they been segregated by the machine, but now we're personally manually inspecting those. And we're looking at the voter information that's online in the database. We're making sure that the name, the address, and signatures match up. And we're making sure that nobody can vote twice. So all of that is being done very responsibly. We have a great team working on that. So you can be assured that nobody will be able to vote twice. That will be captured. It's a very intelligent machine with software system that can do that. We actually employ that every year so that if for some reason someone tries to put another ballot in, if they could try to replicate that barcode or do anything, that the system would kick that out. So just so you are assured, that's always a possibility, that we always have that built into the system to separate, but this time we specifically programmed in those numbers, so those ballots affected would be segregated, and it's working. So once we tested that and we segregated those out, we confirmed those are the ones that are on our list, and we started the sorting process again. So I hope that answers some of the questions with what happened at Election IQ.
Any questions from the board? Councilor Copeland.
I just want to say it was a phenomenal explanation. I at times been impatient for specific information. And you've done an excellent job, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so I'm clear, did you have to start the sorting process completely out? So you resorted
No.
through everything?
We didn't, there were only a few that had gone through the sorter ahead of that. And there were in the first, how many had gone through?
I would say probably like 3,000.
Right,
Yeah, but there was only a few thousand that had gone through before that. Not many were being returned.
But we didn't say, oh, we just, once we identified the problem, but we.
so anything that had already gone through, their voter ID is it's already registered that they voted, so those would come in and we would be able to reconcile that with the records of the ones that had already gone. That makes sense. What we've done, we also sent a letter from the Board of Elections that Andre signed. We sent that to Election IQ. They're going to copy that letter and put that together with a postage paid envelope and send that to the people that have the extra ballots so that they can return those to the department and we can keep those with our records.
No, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Did the rest of the Board of Elections get the letter that Andre signed? So that you've seen it?
Email.
So I've had, along with the election board, I've had many people and organizations contact me about the same issue, and a lot of candidates as well. The problem is that, like most things, when the issue arises, everybody gets a piece of information, not the whole thing, and they misinterpret. They don't understand exactly what happened. And so they start complaining about this or that. Now, I've had firsthand experience with that because I could tell when I'm getting the question that they misinterpreted whatever bit of information that they got. And I've had to explain to them the same thing, pretty much like what Karen has done. But that's part of the problem, especially with the candidates out there who are really excited, and especially with some organizations, Democratic and Republican, that have gotten wind of it online somehow, and now want to jump in zealously and fix the problem or find out what they could do and all that. And I've held them at bay by simply telling them to stay put, that we already have this under control, that the election board is communicating with everybody, including each person that got an extra ballot. Some people thought that that was the only ballot that they got. There's a lot of different interpretations on it.
Mr. Chair, Council, yeah, I don't want to get that far into the weeds with it. I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me to have a professional space to handle it. Many of you receive calls from our state representatives and some of your constituents. My job is kind of like the quarterback in the huddle, and that's to, find out what happened. As within the investigation, or in this case, audit, I didn't feel it prudent to run out and make any statements to the media without having some of the questions answered. So in short, once we determined that there was an event that occurred on Friday. I was in contact with Councilman Copeland and Karen daily. I assumed that you all were abreast of the situation. And so once I found out, I sent out the email asking everybody to stand back, allow election IQ to perform their audit. Believe that Monday things would come into view, and they did. I spoke with Dan Chesky from Election IQ, and the numbers and the names came into view, and we found out several things. And what we found out is that event occurred Friday. It's contained, and it's our job here as the Board of Elections to be firemen sometime and put those fires out, because really it's nothing to see here. I realized that there were eyes of the world on Pennsylvania, and whether it's one ballot or 296 ballots in this case, our first priority is to ensure that every elector, every member of the electorate, every voter has the assurance that every vote that they cast legally will be voted, and that we will conduct a fair and impartial election, regardless of what your party is or affiliation, what your politics is. And the second thing to set out why my approach was that is that our office, whom I always brag on, not be impugned in any way, because we weren't responsible. It was an operating system from our vendor. I'm proud of the way that we handled it. Even the state legislators, I didn't think that they were helpful. I thought that they threw accelerant on it in many instances. And I understand their frustration and passion. Having said that, I will close my comments with the Erie County Board of Elections. Ms. Karen Chilcott, Ms. Tanya Fernandez, and staff are the gold standard of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When it comes to the conduct of elections, we're not perfect, but we're not perfect in our operations, but we strive to be perfect in our transparency. And you can assure that every single vote cast legally will be counted in Erie County in a fair and impartial way. There's nothing to see here. And finally, this is the first time we had duplicate ballots. It happens in other counties, it's happened here. And all it does is give us an opportunity to brag on our staff. And that sort of just made us really be able to brag, because it's a phenomenal tool to have. And finally, if someone were to try to do something nefarious, and we were throwing verbiage around here, and I thought about it, and I apologize to you, it's not up to us to prosecute. If there's something that looks nefarious in this election or any other election, we'll turn it over to the proper jurisdictional authorities and let them determine whether there's a crime that's been committed. But as for Erie County Board of Elections, we will ensure always that there's a fair and impartial election. And so we'll move on.
I still had a couple of things there, Andre.
Yeah.
And if I didn't make it clear, we do have a list of the names and addresses of the people who received those ballots, so we know who they were sent to. It's not like there's ballots floating around out there. We can identify where they were intended to go, who received them, and all of that is trackable. Also, just to go over technically what happened at Election IQ, they have a lot of equipment there and technology, and the inserting process where they're putting the ballot packet and materials into that outer envelope, that is run by 4 different operating systems. The one with the addressing component temporarily failed. So when that addressing component failed, it has happened in the past with them, and it's picked up where it left off, and this time it didn't. It picked up at a different point in the software. So this is not an operating system where they can just go and change it in the middle of the election. So they put other precautions in place, different stop points where people can do quality checks so that they would be able to recognize that at different points. So they've tried to put mechanisms in place, but again, it's right in the middle of an election. their equipment, as many in the country are probably overwhelmed with the volume of work that they're doing right now. So that might not be a great thing to hear, but it was, something that they were able to catch, and they have more mechanisms in place to try to prevent that from happening. Second thing is ballots that aren't arriving. So this is another thing, and with both issues, we've been in contact with the Department of State and then working with Jonathan Marks and others at the state level. We did have a lot of calls that ballots were not being received by people. And we looked into that, and on Elections IQ's end, it looked like everything had been sent properly, everything looked good, we had 38,000 ballots go out. Jonathan Marks had contacted USPS to find out what's going on, have all those been delivered properly. In all but one of the batches, all of the batches were received either early or on time as far as USP standards, so I don't know what that means, but, they met the criteria to be delivered earlier on time. There was one batch that was sent around the Columbus Indigenous Peoples' Day. So around October 11th, and I think it's the people who probably got a message saying that your ballot was mailed on October 9th. So it's people that may have received that message that it could have affected. But 2 bins from that batch, after they were delivered to the post office in Pittsburgh, were then inadvertently sent to another post office. So this was a post office error. Since that time, those bins have been found. And as far as I know, they're all out, and they were expected to be, I guess, they're listed as up for delivery today. So we should be good on those. In the meantime, we do know that we have either students who might be at one location or another, and they're expecting their ballot at a certain place, or we have people in Florida. I had a person today that was also from another state, and they're going to be leaving their home in a few days to travel back and forth. So there's a question, are people going to get their ballots in time, or what should we do? So our office has responded to that by sending them a new ballot and overnighting that, and that's a cost that we're incurring through the elections department, but we are doing that. It's about $25 a person. We're overnighting that ballot, and when we generate that next ballot to them, that first one has been voided out, it's canceled, and so that's not able to be voted. But we have done that for a number of people that have contacted the office, we're able to do that for. We don't know, we don't have a spreadsheet of those people, so we don't know which ones they affected, but it looks like about 750 people were affected by that. Hopefully, those will be received in the next day or so. We had been told by Election IQ that they had been sent out. So that's when the Department of State got involved. I don't have the connections at the Postal Service to track that down, but the Department of State does.
I called Mike Ferrito, and he called the Department of State.
Oh, not that answered any
Mike
other
is the
question.
governor's resource.
Just, we have one in our family that was still outstanding, my mother-in-law, who's 99, and it just arrived today. And it was, there, you have this feeling of panic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially when there's multiple issues, everybody's level of anxiety is already high. And then when you see things in social media or on the news, I think everybody jumps to some conclusions pretty quickly. There's more concerned than they normally would be about these things. So we understand that, and we appreciate people's patience with that. But I think that we've identified, as we're identifying them, we're responding the best way we can.
And we didn't want to put out any information prematurely that might change. On anything you want to add?
No, other than the office is, we're experiencing record numbers and voters wanting to vote early. And I mean, this is like something I've never seen before. It is comparable to the 2020 election, but we had the pandemic and there were multiple other reasons why people were voting early. So we're doing it great. Everybody's getting in and getting out. There is some wait time, but I think it is preventing our office, along with all of the phone calls and the emails, from getting our normal work that we would be getting done during the day. So we are working extra long hours to get this done, but I believe we'll have everything done, everything's in place, and we'll be ready to certify our voter registration statistics by next Tuesday, so everything's in place.
We're entertaining the second shift, and their ladies and gentlemen have been working some weekends. So, yeah, if any of you feel like buying lunch or something, I'm sure they'd accept. And we feed that line, man, keep them moving. But I just want to thank you. I came in and I stood in line. And like everyone else, and I voted. I just wanted to have that experience and get the chance to talk to people from both sides of the party. And everyone was pretty gracious. The energy was high and excited. And I've never seen it like this in all the years that I've been here. As far as the anxiety and the passion about it, I understand it. The grace that you all have handled the public with under some really trying circumstances has been nothing short of phenomenal. And so you're not only a credit to Erie County Council, the Board of Election, you're a credit to every employee that walks through this building. You are the gold standard. We don't take no question. I know. So.
I missed your number, that was all.
Which number,
Of the
which number?
returns.
Of the number return, we'll provide that for you afterwards. Any comments, anyone from the board?
Just real
Yes, ma'am.
quick, and it's already been said, but I know how crazy and hectic elections are without the little snafus that we've had, and I just want to give you extra credit for your professionalism and the fantastic job that you've been doing. So, thank you. And I will add, I was happy when I came in the other day and nobody had pulled their hair out. Everybody still had their hair.
It's just a question, I know it's record demand, nothing you can do about that. You have fixed assets in terms of staff, computers, everything else. It is a mail-in ballot application you complete, it takes a certain amount of time to verify it was sure and everything else. But there might not be anything that can be done, and I'm thankful that most everyone I saw online was in a chipper mood. It's kind of surprised, I get irritable waiting in the grocery store line, and that was quite a bit longer. But is there anything that we can deploy accurate wise for your office and space, or anything that could be beneficial to aid in the efficiency? Not saying that it's non-efficient or that it's lacking, but is there something that we can do to help that?
I think Karen and I have discussed a couple ideas, and one would be to have more workstations so that we could have an actual call center. So that other people could get work done and not be answering the phones the whole time. There are some ideas that we have that we've been bouncing around. And I think we'll definitely make that happen before the next big election.
So this is over time, and
Over-
we're kind of still.
Yeah.
Over a
Understood.
short period of time, because we also had purchased the run back sorter, the extender, which is another 8 feet of equipment for in that room, which is going to impinge upon the current workstation. So we're looking at how to reconfigure the office a bit, so we can accommodate what we already have and then add a few workstations to that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So, thank you, everyone. We'll move right to new business. Item A, resolution 6 of 2024. We're gonna repeal resolution numbers 12 of 2022 and 16, which had to do with cure procedures. Can come on, turn that back over to the next. We'll have Tom.
You want me?
Yeah, you can
One of you.
add to
Well,
prepare these.
sure, this is very simple. Back in 2020, we had some similar issues and some were safety concerns, et cetera. So we drafted a number of rules of conduct at a polling place. And we adopted a notice to cure procedure, et cetera. And then in 2022, we had similar issues as the case law and lawsuits that followed the 2020 election started to change some of the things that the election board had to do. The lawsuits have continued over the past 4 years, right up until today. They're still going on. And so all I did at the request of Karen is update the previous resolutions by repealing them and then putting new resolutions that are updated and conform to what case law has been decided thus far. So I would not be surprised if some of these rules changed again by the next election. But they're definitely workable now, and actually, most of them have been lifted from the election code. So if you read what if you've read what you're being asked to adopt, you will find most of the same stuff in the election code itself. So the first one is a resolution to repeal the 2020, I think it's the 2022, the 2022. Yeah, those two resolutions, followed by a new resolution to take its place. The third resolution is to repeal the 2020 resolution. And the resolution, the fourth one that follows that, is the one to take its place.
Any questions? This is just keeping up with current case law. Questions for me? Okay, so I'll read through all of them and then I'll entertain some motions. Is that fair?
You're doing them all at once.
Yeah, let's just read through. You wanna go A? I just read, I'm gonna read B, I wanna read C, I wanna read D. And then we'll come back up to the top and entertain a motion. And at that time, we'll have discussion.
Discussion after reading.
Discussion after motion. Yeah, so resolution number B is resolution 7 of 2024, disposition of technically deficient balance and cure procedures. C, resolution 8 of 2024, repeal resolution number 3, 2020 notice to cure procedures. Item D, resolution 9 of 2024, rules regarding the conduct of polling places, pre-canvass and canvassing watchers and representatives. I'll entertain a motion for items, if you want to do them all as, well, we can't, we actually have to do them separately. But I'll entertain the motion for item A at this point.
So moved.
Second. It's been properly moved to second. Any discussion? Haven't seen none, call for the question.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Scatella,
Yes.
Mr. Winarski,
Yes.
Mr. Bale,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes. I'll entertain a resolution 7 of 2024, dispossession of technically deficient balance and cure procedures. I'll entertain that motion now. So moved. Been properly moved and seconded by councilpersons Drexel and Showerman. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Scatella,
Yes.
Mr. Winarski,
Yes.
Mr. Bale,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes. Item C, resolution 8, 2024, repeal of resolution number 3, 2020, notice to cure procedures. I entertain that motion. Second. It's been properly moved by Chairman Scatella, Councilperson Drexel. Any discussion? Hearing seen none, call for the question, please.
Mr. Scatella,
Yes.
Mr. Winarski,
Yes.
Mr. Bale,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes. Resolution 9 of 2024, rules regarding the conduct of polling places, pre-canvass and canvassing, watchers and representatives. I'll entertain that motion now. So moved. Second. It's been properly moved and seconded by Councilperson Copeland and Winarski. You look kind of alike. Oh, I didn't hear, I wasn't looking, you know, now if I said that, you'd be like, you guys all look alike, type of thing, right? See how you do me, I ain't, hot mic, I ain't fired. Councilman Drexel and Councilman Scattell. Any, yes, discussion,
Sure.
one nurse, Peter held his red cup up, I knew.
I have two questions. I think that they would be directed to the solicitor. Exhibit A says poll watchers must remain outside the enclosed space of the polling place. And separately, poll watchers may be present in the polling place. The enclosed space being a segregated non-public area. What is the intent of it?
What did it say? What did that say?
It says poll watchers must remain outside the enclosed space of the polling place. And then directly following that, poll watchers may be present in the polling place. We just request clarification of the intent of enclosed space.
Enclosed place is where you vote. Where the person actually votes.
You can be by the table where they're checking in, but you cannot be hovering around people as they're voting.
Well, the enclosed space is where the person actually votes. The hall where the voting place is located is the polling place. So they're allowed in the polling place, but you can't get close to a voter.
And the other question, item number 10, and says that details the process of viewing from outside the canvas room and also the TV here present in this room to view the canvas process.
What page are you on?
That's number 10. It's the,
Number 10, page 20 to 20, a topic of conversation at our last board meeting. And just what is your legal opinion that is
Sure.
fully consistent with law and is not?
Yeah. Well, so this is what and depending on the results of this election, the election board may, or kind of, the elected board may have to consider a larger space. But because of the equipment that's been acquired by the election board over the years, in order to accommodate mail-in voting, et cetera, you've reduced the space in there for anybody to move around.
Right.
So what the election board did this year is it knocked part of the wall down and created windows so that the candidate and party representatives can view the process from the hallway through the windows. Now, it's important to note that at that time, the opportunity to challenge a mail-in vote is already passed. So there's nobody, including candidates and their representatives, that can challenge anything that's going on, except if they feel that the voter, that the elector is not qualified. Or if they observe and they think that they see somebody hiding a vote or throwing ballots in the garbage or whatever, that kind of stuff. So in order to accommodate other interested parties, whether they're with the candidate or a party itself, or the media, the election board is providing this area to view the inside of the voting area, with what they've called the bubble, whatever, or fishbowl rather, on this screen here. So that's just an accommodation that the election board is trying to provide for those people that may not have enough room to look through the windows, so that they could at least see if they want to.
And final point of discussion, I just wanted to thank the clerk for her vision and leadership to think to install additional viewing windows. I think that they will turn out to be quite handy for both transparency so that everybody can watch the process. But thank you for that suggestion.
And just as a final note on that point about watching from where no one has ever been allowed to go inside the bubble, where they're actually tabulating. And now, having had a Homeland Security assessment, we don't feel it's prudent to have any and everybody walking past our staff's desk or even coming in that close proximity. with our staff in this charging environment. So we'll be addressing that moving forward too. We no longer, it has grown to the point we've hired staff, we've expanded our office, we no longer even have an office space for us to work in now, so we'll look at that going forward too. Maybe we ought to have some more discussion with Mr. Cataldi and President Judge Walsh about the beyond the election, the use of our chambers. Because that's getting to be atrocious as well too. I don't know about any of you, but every time I come down here, I gotta walk through a gauntlet. Law enforcement officers, lawyers, they look at you like you're in their way. And so it's gotta be a amicable solution to that. We've given them the rooms. We built and paid good money for those rooms for them to screen the prosecution and the defense to have some space. I don't see why they have to do it standing right. Let's see, any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we didn't finish that.
oh, yeah, we get call for the question. Oh, you had that long discussion. Call for the question, please.
Mr. Winarski,
Yes.
Mr. Bale,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes,
Mr. Scatella,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes. If there are any more questions or comments from the board or anything for the good of the order of the board, I would ask for we moved for adjournment.
So.
Can I just say, I think you guys are great, and impressed the hell out of me. I know I'm not allowed to talk.
We're done. We're done. Come up here and talk if you